Hello. So I'm in our workshop today. This is where we run our or some of our craft courses. So for instance, if you come along to our leather working course, you'll find yourself in here, or our carving course, maybe our willow basketry, that kind of thing. The reason I'm here today is because it's very windy and very wet outside, and whilst I'm fine with that, our video recording equipment isn't, so I thought I would just come inside. I wanted to talk a little bit about inner barks. Inner barks are tremendously useful for us in our bushcraft, so we can use it, for instance, to make string. So this is some clematis inner bark. We could use it to make a sort of folded container, woven container, sorry. This one's made from sweet chestnut. So what do I mean by inner bark? So I've got a couple of examples here to show you. So this is a piece of poplar. This is the outside of it, so the outer bark. This is the inside. This is the inner bark. It's sometimes referred to as the bast layer. So it's all of this kind of fluffy material here. Now, when it comes to collecting inner bark, we need to make sure that it's coming from a standing dead source. So standing, still upright, dead, deceased, no longer with us. The dead bit is absolutely crucial, in fact. If you want to use the tinder there and then, so is the upright bit. But I have found in the past that if a tree is fallen over and laid on the ground, and it sort of the damp starts to get in there, it starts to almost rot of its own accord, and it can be quite easily to extract the bark. Obviously it's likely to be wet if you're gathering it that way, so you're going to need to try it out before it's going to be useful. Typically what we could do is just use a knife and sort of scrape this, and it's all going to come off. I tend to use inner barks as a tinder in two different ways. So I will often use them as a tinder bundle. So if I've got an ember, I'm going to make a tinder bundle and pop the ember into it. A lot of these inner barks will also light up straight with a fire steel. So they do give you a number of options. When it comes to inner barks, not all trees are going to produce a usable inner bark. In this country, so in the UK, I could maybe come up with 7, 8 trees that are going to do this. So in terms of identifying them, you're going to need to up your game a little bit, really, because there's a very good chance that there aren't going to be any leaves on the tree. There's a very good chance there won't be any buds on the tree. So you are probably going to be identifying by structure and by bark. So you need to kind of work on your tree ID in a little bit there. I've got a few here that I can show you that I've collected up. So if we start with this is the poplar. So in fact this came from this very tree. I've also got here some sweet chestnut. So sweet chestnut as a tree, it's a naturalised tree, so it wasn't actually, it's not a native, it was introduced by the Romans. Here in Kent, where we're based, there's a thriving industry in chestnut coppers, so this is really, really straightforward to come across. Here I've got Western red cedar, so this is the bark from Western red cedar. It is not a native tree, it comes from the west coast of North America. You are likely to encounter it though. It is one of those trees that was introduced into this country at the end of the Second World War to try to get our timber crops back up. I really like this one. Hopefully you can see there, it is very, very fibrous indeed. Works particularly well. I've also got some lime. So lime bast. Another one that isn't as common in the southeast as it perhaps once was. You do still find it around and about in the woods. Quite often you do tend to find lime in parks and along the sides of roads in towns and cities. This one, if I find lime, I am more inclined than anything to use it for cordage. It is a fantastic material for cordage making. Alright, so sycamore here. Now this one, I only found this quite recently. I think this year, August-ish time. We were camping out in a different wood actually on our wayfaring weekend. And Ho-kyung kind of turned up a little bit late, and he was setting his tarp and hammock up in the dark. And we heard a shout coming from his vicinity, and it turned out he kind of was about to put his hammock up over a wasp nest, and it disturbed them. So we helped him move, and the next day I just kind of went back for a little look, and I saw a sycamore there with these kind of stringy bits hanging down from it. So I collected up, I gave it a try, and it worked really well. It is the only time that I've actually came across sycamore in a bark. So far these have been trees that we've been looking at. This, however, came from clematis. So clematis, it's the kind of vine-like thing that you would often find growing in woods. This particular bunch came from a clematis stem that was probably about that kind of diameter. So when I found it, I cut a big section off it because I wanted to use it as a hearthboard for hand drill. And so as I was splitting it down, I kind of found all of this really fine material inside it. Elm is another one that's likely to give you a good inner bark. We have very, very little elm in this vicinity. Another one that you are maybe more likely to come across would be Leylandi. So Leylandi is a cypress in the same way, or Cupressaceae, in the same way that the Western red cedar is, and it produces a very, very similar inner bark. So hopefully guys, that's going to be useful information for you. If you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. Watch out for our next video. Thanks and goodbye.